Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Lekon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. Federal government wants media reporting of bandit activities toned down. Education Minister hails JAMB's crackdown on cheating as over 78% fail 2025 UTME. Port Sudan under fire for fourth day as war reaches government stronghold. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin at the National Assembly. Following the resumption of plenary at the National Assembly, the Senate has taken a major step in response to the unfolding situation in Rivers State. The Nigerian Senate has established an ad hoc committee to monitor the administration of emergency rule in Rivers State. The move comes amid growing concerns about governance under the state's sole administrator. This latest action mirrors a similar initiative by the House of Representatives as both chambers seek to ensure proper checks and balances during the period of emergency rule. The Senate's decision marks a renewed effort to assert legislative oversight and respond to public concerns over the political climate in the state. News Central's National Assembly correspondent brings details on this and other key matters discussed during Tuesday's plenary session.
Plenary after over a month-long recess to mark the Eid al-Fitr and Easter holidays, observed after weeks of Lent and Ramadan fasting by both faiths. As business resumed, the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, announced the constitution of an ad hoc committee to provide oversight on the Rivers State sole administrator in line with constitutional provisions and the rule of law. The committee, to be chaired by Senate Leader Okpeyemi Bamidele, draws its membership from across party lines.
There is need for us to have a committee, just like the House of Representatives has done. So the chairman of that committee will be Sir Distinguished Senator Michael Okpeyemi Bamidele, the Senate leader, and the deputy chairman will be Distinguished Senator Rufai Hanga, Deputy Minority Whip.
Meanwhile, the Senate passed a motion calling for the organization of a national security summit following concerns over worsening insecurity across the country. The motion, moved by lawmaker Jimoh Ibrahim representing Ondo South and co-sponsored by 3 others, seeks to convene stakeholders across all tiers of government and traditional institutions to develop practical security solutions. However, the motion sparked mixed reactions on the floor of the Senate.
To address the challenges highlighted above, it is imperative that empirical fact-finding mission, National Assembly Security Summit, is organized by this Senate to assist in providing requisite platform for enhancing and exhausting this far-reaching deliberation as a way forward.
Do we want to really be true to ourselves? And do we really want to be true to our calling here as senators? And the reason why I ask that is very simple. For each session I've been here, we have had security summits. Each session. In fact, the last one, we were part of setting it up and then we did everything. At the end of the day, nothing came out of it. That we have provided solutions in the past and they have not worked or they have not been implemented will not stop us from providing solutions. There is nothing that stops us from continuing to explore all means of bringing this insecurity to a halt.
They will take over your land, occupy your compound. They are no longer destroying schools, no longer destroying markets. They are living inside those facilities. So this security summit is very essential.
The Senate is also set to commence close-by-close consideration of the report of its Committee on Finance regarding the proposed tax reform bills. This follows the formal presentation of the committee's report by its chairman, Sani Musa, representing Niger East Senatorial District.
I want the chairman of finance to ensure that every senator has copies. Please take back your copies and go and study them tonight, and then we will now go into clause-by-clause considerations on the next sitting.
Just before the day's plenary ended, the Senate announced a reshuffling of the leadership of some of its standing committees. The reshuffle is to take immediate effect following the announcement during plenary. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Well, we will focus more on the oversight function, the legislative oversight function on the sole administratorship in Rivers State right now, even as we are joined by a legal practitioner, Ermi Kine, who will be sharing his perspective with us. Thank you so much for coming around.
Thank you very much for having me. It's my pleasure to join you this afternoon.
All right. Now, under Section 114 of the Constitution, the National Assembly has the authority to resume legislative powers during a state of emergency. How does this provision interact with the Senate's establishment of a joint committee to oversee the administration of Rivers State?
Thank you. I think for me, the National Assembly is performing a function that the Constitution has vested in it in any situation that the State House of Assembly is unable to legislate or perform its constitutional function of lawmaking. And that is pursuant to Section 11, subsection 4 of the Constitution. Even if I hold a strong view, and I emphasize and reiterate that the situation that arose in Rivers State was not justified, but being that that's the situation now, the National Assembly has got to do what they've done. The House of Representatives did that earlier, and then the Senate has constituted a two-man committee. But what I think really should be discussed here now is what and how the National Assembly committees, perhaps they're going to be a joint committee, to relate with an office that is unconstitutional. The office of the sole administrator of a state was never envisaged in the Constitution, was never intended at all by the drafters of the 1999 Constitution. So even when Section 11, subsection 4 is to be invoked, it is in a situation where the democratic institutions, particularly with respect to the executive, the governor of the state would be there. And then it is the legislative arm where they are unable to make laws that the National Assembly would have done what they are doing. Because that same Section 11, sub 4 made a provision that even when the National Assembly will perform this legislative function, they do not have the power to remove a governor. So it means, therefore, that we should have had the executive governor in office. So the National Assembly, by relating with the sole administrator, who is not known to law, is in another way giving credence to what is not constitutional. But I think for me, that remains the talking point that has been on the issue of the unconstitutional, unlawful, and illegal declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. And it will continue to be so until it is turned otherwise.
That's quite interesting. Now, are there any specific powers or maybe limitations that should be looked at in terms of the joint committee possessing, of course, the constitutional powers to effectively oversee the administration of Rivers State without infringing on executive prerogatives?
Of course, the Constitution clearly provides a direction as to what the Joint Committee of the National Assembly will do. It is just to perform the functions of a House of Assembly. So if they need a guide, it is to revert to what the functions of the legislature would be. So they cannot, and they do not have the power or the cover in any way to infiltrate into what the executive would do. And what are these functions of the legislature? If the Rivers State House of Assembly were to be in operation, then it would mean to make laws. And then the general power vested in the legislature in making law could mean to review existing laws in ways of amending them or repealing them where it's necessary to repeal, or consolidate certain existing laws where they have common objectives addressing common issue. And then to add to the lawmaking function of the legislature is the oversight of public funds. And then the power that the legislature has with respect to public funds is primarily with respect to receiving from the governor of the state an appropriation bill to consider and pass into an appropriation law, what is generally referred to as the budget. And then having done so, having appropriated monies to ministries, departments, and agencies of government to perform respective functions, the legislature has the oversight of how these monies are being appropriated and utilized. And the purpose also is clear in the Constitution. It's for the purpose of knowing whether there is need to appropriate more funds or whether there is need to make laws to enable the departments, ministries, and agencies of government to appropriately utilize those funds. So they do not have any power to go into the performance of the functions of the office of the governor.
All right, Henry, thank you so much for the clarification. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing the details with us. It was nice talking to you at this time.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure to be with you.
You're welcome. And now, news reaching us is that the Red Chamber, that is the Senate, the Nigerian Senate, is actually about debating the tax reform bills. We are going to be taking the live feeds. You can see it on your screen right now to listen to the details of the session.
To a special committee because there are people that are otherwise. If you say elders committee, Senator Fadahonsi will ask you.
Okay, so sorry, I withdraw that. Okay, that's your
special committee.
I withdraw that.
Special committee.
A special committee.
Special committee of the Senate.
Committee. Yes. So I withdraw that. Special committee.
Thank you.
So you've done us proud. We are proud of you, and I congratulate everybody. Thank you, Mr. President.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. Senate President, I stand to move a motion that we resolve into Committee of Whole to consider this report clause by clause. I so move.
Yes, the minority leader.
Mr. Colleagues, I write to second the motion that we resolve to Committee of Whole to consider clause by clause of the bill. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, having heard the exhaustive synopsis summary, this special committee as well as the Committee on Finance, a motion has now been moved that we now resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the reform bills for Nigeria, clause by clause. Those in support of this motion say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We resolve it to Committee of the Whole.